stuff. I went looking at reading some other things, which is kind of funny. Not even sure how I ended up here, but the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. I thought that was a better source than me. Here's their conclusion. Now, we'll all agree Stanford's at least a pretty good university in California. There are no absolute truths in science. There are only whether a statement, theory, or framework is true or not depends on the quantitative and how closely you examine or measure the results. So that sounds weird, but here we go. Okay, we're going to take a cannonball and we'll take it to a mountain and we're going to drop it. And it's going to go at a certain speed. Everybody agree? Now, if we go and do it at the equator and we do it at the poles, the North Pole, does it travel the same speed? Guess what? It doesn't. Now, if we take it even higher in the sky and drop it, does it drop at the same speed? And the answer is no, it doesn't. The closer to the gravitational source, the greater the acceleration of the object. Now, we would say, well, gravity is true, right? Gravity is, I love to talk about gravity because I always ask, does gravity mean because it's not very nice to things? But what the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy tells you is that truth in the scientific world is relative to something. How big is big, guys? Well, it's bigger than small. That's what we know. And this is what was stunning to me, but this is basically a extremely well thought out and extremely well accepted ideas. Every scientific theory has a finite range of validity, which means scientific theories only work in controlled worlds. You say, what do you mean now? Come on. And what it means is this. If we looked at science for the absoluteness of truth that they're talking about doesn't exist. What they're saying is truth is a condition. Scientific truth is based upon the factors we add in. Every scientific theory has a finite range of validity. Inside that range, the theory is indistinguishable from true. Outside of that range, the theory is no longer true. That's weird, right? That really means the following. As things are infinitesimally small or infinitesimally large, the same things we think are true are not the same. Now let's contrast that. Jesus Christ uses a word which I was stunned to see in the Hebrew is much more significant than our scientific truths. When he says, I am truth that I'd never seen before. So I went looking through those words, and I'll tell you what the word is. It's called emet. Okay. The Hebrew term for truth is emet. No, that's not good. But do you all know that's the origin also of amen? It's the same startup. And we would say truth, and we would say at the end of a prayer, amen, which means so be it, or I agree with it, or yeah, that's it. But man, this got heavy real fast. The word as we develop it, the first letter being emet, is the aman, which is, again, as I mentioned, we get to eventually amen. Amen. And it doesn't mean truth as we see it in scientific form, but the basis and firmness, the absoluteness of something you can build on. And that's a different idea. The idea of truth in the Hebrew, the aman, it indicates a sense of support or firmness or faithfulness or even foundation. So when Jesus Christ says, I am the truth, he's not talking about the scientific absoluteness or the scientific assertiveness. He's talking about truth as the means by which all things are created and are firm. Now, y'all know I keep going back to this term in Psalms 103. Know that the Lord, He is God. It is He who has made us and not we ourselves. And that's know, intimate, full, completely absorbed by the idea. Not know of, but know absolutely that God is. Encompasses in the Hebrew 3 letters the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the middle letter of the Hebrew alphabet. That's the word that spells truth. I went, well, that's weird. That's considered to be the seal of God, that when it's all said and done, the foundation, the firmness, the assuredness of the Hebrew is that God seals things with the truth. I said, okay, man, this is getting weirder. The letters of emit, the truth, Alf, Mem, and Tav in Hebrew, are amazing that they are put in that order. The first word, the first letter, the last letter, and the middle letter. And guess what happens if you remove the first letter? If you only leave the two letters, it says death. What's left over in the Hebrew is death. And I'm stunned because I'm looking through the rabbinical writings. People have been investigating this for 1,000 years. I keep looking at this, and I'm amazed because their conclusion was without the completeness of God, your answer and your future is death. Now, I'm sorry, I went looking for this little word truth. I thought I knew it well. And I start looking at this more and more. And I look at it because one of the things that opens the Old Testament is the following. Man is asked, did God really say? Did God really say? Which means